Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Okay, wait, give me one sec. Turn this music off. Anyways, hello, welcome. Damn, I just realized there's like Christmas decorations over here and Christmas decorations over here, and you can't see any of it. All you can see is this white curtain, but that's fine. That's fine. Anyway, I am here to speak on Kraven the Hunter, which I just saw the other day. So, yeah, I was not gonna make a video, but then I was like, I had to entertain myself, so I went on YouTube and I was listening to all the reviews, and everybody hates this movie, okay? Everybody says this movie's a piece of shit, and that it's fucking horrible, and blah, 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 but I'm like, I liked it. I liked the movie. And I also like Gladiator too. And I feel like those movies kind of go together. But anyway, of course people aren't going to like Kraven the Hunter. Because the teaser, the first trailer, or whatever, came out like 2 years, or like a year and a half ago, didn't it? I feel like it was a long time ago. Because now people are talking about, oh, the movie was hella delayed and everything like that. And, I just remember, the first speakage of it on the internet. People were already poised to hate this movie, so it's like, of course you don't like it. Was there any chance that anybody was actually gonna like this movie? I don't think so. And I don't think Gladiator 2 had a chance either. Because it's like, of course everybody's just gonna compare it to the first one. And that's the problem with these movies. That's the problem, is that they're in that stupid-ass modern-day catch-22 with movies, where it's like, they're trying to get attention with the name, with the brand name, but then, of course, people are going to be let down, because, it's not going to be what they want it to be. But for me, I liked Kraven the Hunter because I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I am not a comic books person. And, man, I feel like I can hear somebody through the walls. Oh, those are just people out in the street. I'm like, I pray to God I'm not speaking so fucking loud that, the neighbors can hear me and I can hear the neighbors and everything like that. It's always a problem, isn't it? But anyways, so I am not a comic books person, and I sure as hell don't like fucking Spider-Man. But the funny thing is that, I have seen Kraven the Hunter before. This is not my first time ever hearing of him because, I was playing, it must have been the 90s version of Spider-Man, a cartoon, for my nieces. And they had, it was funny because all of these villains, except I don't think Madam Web. I don't remember seeing Madam Web in there. But I just know that, every episode seemed to be, following one of these movies. It was like there was a Morbius one. There was a Venom one, I think. There must have been. There was a Rhino was the first one, I think. And, what else? There was other ones. But anyways, Kraven the Hunter was in there, and I don't remember it very well because, I was kind of ignoring it, but here's my point, okay? You know how everyone's complaining nowadays about how, they're trying to take these, these villains, these evil-ass characters that need to be stopped, and that's their whole point, their original purpose, is that they're there to be stopped by the hero. But now they're trying to be made into, they're trying to have their own swirl in the spotlight as a hero themselves. So all these villains are trying to be turned good. And then people are like, they're not just letting them be bad. Which I agree with. I think the movies would be way more fun if you just let them be bad. And you let them actually be, kind of like gangster movies where, because it's not like you never vote, it's not like nobody can ever cheer for bad guy. Like, we do it all the time, you know? It's just that, you know, because that would make the movies a little bit more adult, and then they're not going for that. They want this to be like a preteen audience or whatever. But the funny thing is, in the cartoon, I just remember at the end, it ended with Kraven, I don't even know what was going on, but something was wrong with him, and then he wound up passing out, and there was this lady who was like fucking obsessed with him, and she came running up, and she's like, oh baby, we'll get you some help. That's what I remember. And I'm just like, yep, that's the 90s for you. But anyways, I like this movie. I like this movie because to me, this movie is like the perfect fan fiction movie, which is probably why a lot of people hate it. But it's just like, you know, I remember when I was, like, this movie made me feel like I was 13 again. I'm just like, just some action, yeah. Is the dialogue sometimes, like, fucking terrible? Almost kind of like a Neil Breen, like a big budget Neil Breen movie at times with some of this dialogue. Yeah, maybe. Does it have horrible, horrible CGI where you're like, okay, fine, you want to have fake dangerous animals like a bear or a lion, but at least get a real dog and say it's a wolf. Just get a husky, you know. But yeah, there's no reason why all the fake computer generated animals had to look so fake. But, you know, I assume this was a troubled production, and people are saying, like, oh, it was cut up in, like, there's probably, like, 5 movies worth of movie, like, if you take all the scenes off the cutting room floor, you know, and stuff. But I'm just like, this movie almost kind of has a little spark of what I love so much about, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I feel like this movie is just a fun movie, and it just makes me think of, like, remember when we were kids? Remember movies came out, like, there was that movie, like, Sky High, and there was Spy Kids, and there was Josie and the Pussycats. I know people are gonna say Sky High and Josie and the Pussycats are way better than any of these, like, Sony, like, superhero movies. You know, and maybe it's true, but it's just like, when you're a kid, are you that, like, man, this light is making me look so shitty. I knew it too. I knew it when I chose this spot, that I'm like, this light isn't gonna do me any favors. But, you know, whatever. I needed a spot where I could plug my phone in. Anyway. Oh shit, I totally forgot my brush. Should I try to put on this makeup with just my hand? Anyway, it's interesting because, like, I feel like movies that, like, there's some movies out there that people say were originally fan fictions. Like, I was just listening this morning to something about fan fictions and how, like, there's, like, certain romance movies where people are like, oh, this was originally a fan fiction, then they just changed all the names, like, I can tell. But this, it's different, what I'm talking about. There's a difference between a movie that was made from a fan fiction and a movie that is good to make fan fiction from. I feel like Kraven the Hunter and Gladiator 2 are in the same camp where it's like, these movies are just great to make fan fiction from. And sometimes those movies are kind of shitty. Like, I almost kind of feel like, what is it, the third movie in the new Star Wars trio? I mean, Star Wars is so confusing now with all these extra TV shows and all this extra shit. But, you know, the third Kylo Ren one. That movie was kind of like that too, where it's just like these really, like, these plots where it's like, people might say, like, oh, it's confusing. And it's like, it makes no sense, it's all over the place. It really does, like, it's not that all over the place. None of these movies are that all over the place to where you can't tell what's going on. Like, you just have to accept it. You just have to accept what's happening. Like, me and my parents were kind of talking about this last night, like, not in this context, but of, like, folklore stories, and how in folklore stories, there's no, like, hard and fast rules. It's like, whatever needs to happen, happens. Like, if there's a magical creature, like a witch or a gnome or something, and they just need something to happen, they'll be like, oh, and then they conjured fire. And then you're like, well, why didn't they conjure fire before? When they needed it, you know? But it's like, no, because it's part of the story. This is how the story goes, you know? But, so, I didn't think Kraven the Hunter was complicated at all. Like, I thought it was easy to follow. You know, you just have to pick up what they're putting down and just, like I said, like, treat it like you're seeing Spy Kids on the Disney Channel when, you know, back in 2003 again, you know, it's like, whatever happened to these superhero movies just being goofy, you know? And I know people like their deep, heavy adult themes and everything like that, and they're like, I thought this was gonna be rated R. And you know what, it is hella true. Like, on all these reviews, people are saying, like, yeah, they said they were gonna add blood, but they just added CGI blood so it could be easily taken out, so they can easily make a PG cut of this movie if they want, or they can have an R cut. It's almost kind of like Mortal Kombat, where you, like, choose how much gore you want or whatever for the kills. But, anyway, like, I don't know, I'm kind of just meandering, you know, I don't have a main thesis, but maybe this kind of illustrates why I like this movie. Maybe this is very meta right now, what I'm saying, you know, because I'm very tired, but, like, I just want to strike while the iron was hot, you know, and make this video even if it's gonna be shitty. But yeah, what I mean by a movie that's good to make fan fiction out of, it's kind of like a toy box. Like, they throw you a bunch of these characters, and they kind of loosely define all these characters, and they show you, you know, they give you some scenarios where the characters are all in there, and it's like, you know, it's a story, but it's a loose story. So you can kind of take it apart, like the parts of a doll, and kind of rearrange if you want to, and, you know, and, I don't know, I just feel like movies like this, they're kind of giving you, like, the parts. And I thought the action was good, though. The action was better than Gladiator 2. Because I liked Gladiator 2. I loved the big spectacle, and, you know, it was just cool to look at. And I loved the Navy battle in the Coliseum. I didn't care if it was sharks. You know, it was fine, whatever. But my only complaint with Gladiator 2 was that all the actions, for a long-ass movie that was like 2 hours 45 or something like that, all the fight scenes were too short. Like, they seemed so short for some reason. But, you know, after I saw Gladiator 2, I actually got inspired to start writing a fan fiction. Not a big fan fiction, just a goofy little fan fiction. A real fast-moving little, just jot it down little thing, like how I used to. And I hadn't been inspired like that for years, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if, like, instead of the movie going the way it actually goes, what if when the guy fought that monkey, or baboon, excuse me, that it actually gave him rabies, and the entire rest of the movie is him, like, slowly developing rabies and infecting everybody else, and creating kind of, like, an apocalyptic thing which culminates, like, in the fall of Rome. I thought that would be a funny story. So it was very inspiring for me, you know. And yeah, same thing with Kraven. Like, I liked Kraven the Hunter the same way I liked Trap, even though Trap at least has that, like, I feel like that undercurrent, which, like I said, I don't think it was intentional, but it's like you can read into it that it has this, like, underlying message about, like, privilege and how some people just fucking get away with everything, and it's just like, wow, what a lucky bitch, you know. But Kraven has none of that. I feel like Kraven has zero underlying message. But that's okay, you know, whatever. Like, I feel, I guess what I'm trying to say in the end is, like, sometimes it's fine just to have a good time. You know? Just to have a good time and yeah, like I said, I think the action scenes were better than Gladiator 2. They seemed like they lasted longer. They seemed like there was more to them. And the other thing is, I thought some of the acting was good. Of course, people are slamming this movie, and of course, when people start complaining, the ball gets rolling, and it's fun to just shit on everything and just make a fun video where it's like, you know, and this sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks, everything sucks, it's horrible, you know, it's like, that goes back to fucking Cinemassacre with the angry nerd and all that shit. Like, it's fun, it gets you clicks, like, and I watched all of them, but at a certain point, I'm just like, I just don't relate because I don't feel this way. And like I said, like, I'm not a comic book person. I'm not a fan. I am a little bit different because, number one, I am not the type of, like, I feel like all these reviewers are kind of the same. Like, they even say some of the same talking points and use some of the same words and stuff. But, like, I feel like all these people are those kind of, like, comic book fans where it's like, number one, they want everything to be real dark. And darkness is fine, but I'm not all about it all the time. Like, I didn't like Penguin that much. Penguin was okay. Penguin had me at first 3 episodes. I thought the first 3 episodes were excellent. But then at 4 fell off, man. 4 was just so cheesy. And 4 was just so, like, predictable and, like, overly scripted. I don't know. And just all hitting all these talking points like whack-a-mole. Like, it just seemed very unoriginal. I don't know. And I was just like, okay, I get it. I get the point. I get the feminist message. All this is cool. But you have to be so, like, lights, like a big billboard over the freeway that, like, you can't even drive properly, causing accidents because it's just so blaring in your face, like, this is feminism, like, see how when she gets locked up in the crazy house, you know, she's even, like, you know, sexually violated and everything, you know, everything, and they do the teeth thing, like she's a slave, and it's just like, the only thing I respected about that episode was the yellow wallpaper. I'm like, okay. Get all of your references in. Because I use references. I respect a good reference, you know. But after that, the show fell off. And then I watched 5. 5 was okay. And then 6 really fell off. And then I didn't even bother watching 7 and 8. Because I'm just like, what more is there, you know? Like, it's not doing it for me. Like, I don't know. Like, everybody has their own thing that they want. And if these people want, like, a darker take on everything, and I don't know, but sometimes I feel like people are kind of, like, chasing that high of, like, when they first saw The Dark Knight, and it was like, whoa, this is so, like, dark for a, like, superhero thing. Is like, didn't this used to be goofy? Like, how do we go from Batman in the 60s to this, you know? And it was kind of thrilling, and everybody loved it, you know? But now it's like, okay, we've had how many dark comic book movies? Nowadays, dark comic book movies, I feel like that's the norm. You know, when all of a sudden comic book movies became, like, you know, that became, like, it was all adult, you know, and stuff like that. And, that's okay, you know, it's okay, but I'm just saying, I don't know, a movie like this, a movie like Kraven the Hunter, that just seems almost kind of like it doesn't give that much of a shit, like, I liked it, but, you know, first and foremost, I don't care about any of these superhero movies. The reason I wanted to see Kraven the Hunter is because I like to see people acting like animals, okay? When I heard that there was gonna be a superhero movie where a dude is running around on all fours and growling and biting people, I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I'm gonna see this movie whenever it comes out because, like, I don't care about the context. I don't care if it comes from a comic book. I don't care what if it comes from a folklore legend. I'll watch that shit, you know? Yeah, but it was good. Oh, I remember what else I was gonna say. So people were talking shit about like the acting in this movie. And it's true that some of the dialogue is like horrible, you know? Like some of the dialogue is just so corny and yeah, there's scenes where it looks like people aren't even in the same like room as each other because they do that thing where it's just like face, and you never see the two people, you never see a wider shot where the two people are literally standing in the same room. Like Kraven and his female friend. Which I like the fact that it never seems like they became full-on romantic. I like that shit. Just like I liked it in Hidalgo too, because I find that to be refreshing. Like, I mean, every movie is like so stereotypical. It's like, especially because Calypso is the only female. Okay? Which is another reason why I feel like this is like good fodder for like not only fan fiction but like slash fiction. Because you have so many men. And you can mix and match them however you want. And there's only one woman. But I like the fact that her and Kraven aren't like embracing and throwing their arms around each other and making out. How they pretty much just talk. And you could see it like they're just friends. You know? Because like I said, in Hidalgo, that was very refreshing. Because you always expect the hero and the token female to get together in the end. And that is almost like required. And I hate it in these older movies, and it's not just older movies, sometimes newer movies too, where the woman, like, she'll like lose everything. Like her parents die, her like city gets burned to the ground, like she literally, everything gets taken from her, like fucking Medea and Jason the Argonauts, or, you know. Something like that. It's just like, well, now you have no choice but to go with the man. And, you know, I hate that because that makes it seem like, that just makes it, like, that just makes it seem like she has no choice. Like, that doesn't even make it seem like they're really in love. Like, fucking, Temple of Doom. I know some people love Temple of Doom, and they say, give Temple of Doom a break, you know. But, you know, that's kind of what I'm saying here. It's like, okay, well, like, I hate the ending of that movie. I hate most of that movie. But, you know, it's a product of its time and stuff like that. But yeah, what I was saying about Hidalgo is, like, that was nice because I've seen so many movies where every fucking time it's like, okay, here's the token, like, attractive woman over here. She's obviously gonna be the girlfriend. Who's she gonna be the girlfriend to? The main character. 1 and 1 makes 2, you know? But at the end of Hidalgo, after all this shit has transpired, and it seems like, what's his face, Frank, and the other chick whose name I can't remember. Like, it really seems like they've done so much together. You know, they've saved each other's lives. They, like, every little thing is falling into place where they're gonna wind up together in the end. And then in the end, they're like, okay, we're gonna go our separate ways, bye. Like, she's gonna stay in the Middle East, and he's gonna go back to America and be with his horses, which is his real love. And I was just like, you know what? Even though Hidalgo is low-key racist, like, I appreciate that ending. Like, it's nice to just see something a little different. And I like that in Kraven too. But even though I've heard some people say that, like, oh, these superhero movies nowadays, they're too chaste. And, like, there's no real couples anymore. But isn't there couples isn't, fucking, isn't, Captain America with Agent Carter and, isn't there, like, Spider-Man always has a girlfriend, whether it's, like, Mary Jane or the other one. And, Batman has his girlfriends, There's plenty of romance. What are you talking about? Like, I feel like they are getting paired up. I don't know, because like I said, I'm not a big connoisseur of these video games. What am I talking about? These superhero shit. I'm not a big connoisseur of it. So maybe they are kind of chaste. I don't know. But I liked what I saw. Okay, I just like it when you can have male and female friends. Where it's like, okay, you can work together and you don't necessarily have to make out, I don't remember. Did they kiss in the movie? Now I'm forgetting. They might have pecked. But I don't remember. I just know it was kind of vague. But anyways, I did think there was some parts where the acting was good. Like, and people were saying, like, Russell Crowe, like, sucks in the movie. I didn't think so. I thought he was pretty good. I thought that for all the stupid-ass lines that he had to say in this movie, he played it so seriously. And I was like, wow, even though the Russian caricature voice is terrible and is, like, dropping words out and everything like that. But I liked it, I have respect for a movie scene where it's like the people are just saying things that are so fucking stupid, and yet they can say it with a straight face and stay in character and and like seem like they're taking it seriously. Like, I hate the fact that their last name is Kravinoff. Like, to me that's so horrible. Like, that's so stupid and terrible. And I'm just like, I can't believe that's, like, treated seriously in the movie. But that's part of it. That's what I need. That's what I mean by that's almost kind of a little bit like. Well, I shouldn't say it's Neil Breenish, because it's not. Neil Breenish is more like when they just have these conversations that are just so explanation heavy. Like, like, I can't even think of it. I can't even fake it. I'm too tired. But, I'm almost at 30 minutes. Yeah. Oh, shit. I didn't even get to talk about Foreigner. I like Foreigner a lot. I don't know who the hell that guy is. People were complaining about him, too. And saying that they fucked up his whole thing. But it doesn't matter to me because I don't know who that guy is. I just thought he was cool. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of funny because all these like assassins and killers and everything like that, and now everyone has to like answer to like a higher up and stuff like that. Once again, it's like, do I have to go back to the same old theory about like, how I feel like these people are kind of all like getting treated like escorts and stuff like that? Or like, what was that video I had before? I was talking about like how there's like a correlation between like mercenaries and like and hookers in like these stories, and stuff. I don't know. Whatever. Well, I hope you get what I'm saying. I just think it's nice to have these movies where it's like, okay, yeah, sure, it's full of holes, but it's fun, it's a good time. And that's the big irony, is that I feel like these movies work better if you're not a fan of the stuff that they came from, which is kind of sad. Because it's like, like if I'm a big fan of Watership Down, right? And then they make a Watership Down movie, and it's way off of everything I liked about the book, and I'm just like, oh, this is fucking horrible. They fucked it up so bad. But then somebody else who's never seen Watership Down before, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? This is awesome. I love it. And I'm like, no, I hate it, I feel like that's kind of like what's going on. Like, because I don't know, this movie just made me happy. This movie just made me happy. And it's not about, like, watching, like, these buff men run around with no shirts. Like, that's not my deal, But it is my deal to see things that are fun and goofy. I just like goofy, you know? I just like things that are silly and fun and that, like, are kind of have a good mix of childish and adult at the same time. So I don't know. I felt like this movie was just real. Like, this movie has so little going for it in terms of seriousness and message, and like there's no message, there's no seriousness. It is not loyal to the source material, but it's fun and it feels good to watch it, and it legitimately made me feel like I was like 13 again, and that is something, you know. So I have to give it credit for that, you know. And yeah, I can just see all the fan fictions that can come out of this. Yeah, but I totally understand people getting pissed where they're like, why do you have to take this ruthless killer who like leaves like trails of animals and humans' bodies everywhere, and he's supposed to be a savage murderer, and why do you have to turn him into this like cuddly little puppy? I understand that. So, because yeah, if there was some badass character who I liked because he or she or whatever was so savage, and they made that character all like cutesy, then I would be kind of irritated too. But, you know, now it makes me want to go back to that freaking Spider-Man cartoon, that 90s cartoon I was showing the kids, and watch that episode over again. Cause yeah, it was interesting though, those shows, it was cool because it's like, these movies are so long and stretched out, and in the cartoon show, like, they just make it so concise, you know, and and once again, it's just like, they're throwing all this crazy shit at you, like, sometimes superhero stories are like some of the trippiest shit ever. Where it's like, this shit is trippier than fucking like fantasy. This shit is trippier than sci-fi. Because I feel like superhero stuff like follows no rules. Like, I used to have this friend who was into superhero comic books, like Fantastic Four and stuff, and he would show them to me, and it's just like, how do things operate in this world? Like, is there even any rules? You know, like, and that whole thing of, like, because I remember that on YouTube, there was that long-ass video that was, like, talking about the death of Superman, you know, and explaining the whole thing. I watched that, and I've never read a Superman comic book before. I don't even think I've seen a Superman movie. I've seen, like, 2 episodes of vintage, like, 50s or 60s Superman cartoon, where it's literally just like, a train is going off the tracks and it's gonna fall off a cliff, and then Superman swoops in and saves everybody. It's very uncomplicated, okay? But then it's like, I'm seeing this shit where it's just like, they're literally throwing everything in the pot. It's like, there's robots that look like humans, and then there's like sentient, like, computers, like, coming to life, like, fucking, like, you know, like, fucking Hal, and then there's, like, clones, and there's, like, morphing things, and there's, like fucking, what's that thing from Five Nights at Freddy's where it's, like, that goo, and you put your tooth in it, and it, like, literally, like, disintegrates your body, and then takes your body, replicates your body. It's just weird shit. It's just, like, are there any rules? You know? Like, so in a way, I feel like this Kraven the Hunter movie is almost kind of, in its own way, more loyal to comic book, or like the spirit of superheroes in general. Which I know the real superhero fans, if they could, they would just reach through the screen and fucking start choking me out for saying that. They'd be like, no, it's not. These are serious stories that can get very dark and very heavy, and we like that, and we want it to, you know, stay true to these, like, literary, like, roots that, like, you know, are very, like, you know, tightly made and well put together, and, you know, we want to see fucking, like, a superhero version of The Godfather, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, these superhero fans, they just need to make their own movies, you know? I'm sure there's fan movies out there that can satisfy all this shit that these people want. You know? It's like, yeah, literally, like, I'm sure there's people out there. What's that fucking dark-ass Joker thing where he, like, rapes everybody and kills everybody while wearing the Hawaiian shirt or whatever? I'm sure there's a fan movie of that that's, like, 100% accurate to the thing, and it's, like, dark as fuck. It's, like, as dark as fucking Martyrs, and it gives these, like, people everything they need, you know? But, I don't know, as a person who did not grow up with all this superhero stuff, like, I feel like the chaos, like, is what these superheroes, like, to me personally. I just feel like all this chaos and all this, like, oh, and then there's this power, and there's this power, and they're kind of just throwing it at you, and it's like, here's this new person just appearing out of nowhere, and it's like, nothing's explained. It's like, all of a sudden, people are just being hypnotized, or, like, all of a sudden, people are just teleporting, and all of a sudden, people are turning into animals, mutating, and, like, you know, and then it's like, yeah, there's, like, you know, there's poisons, and there's, everything's just being introduced. Everything's just like, we have this and this and this. Don't ask questions. I think that's the main thing I'm getting at. It's, like, this whole vibe of, like, don't bother asking questions, okay? Just go with it. Just go with the flow, okay? Which, like, if it didn't have the name of a comic book movie, any of these names, like, any of these, like Morbius, Madam Web, and any of these, if they weren't trying to be something, and say they changed all these names, and they took the movie as it is, but they renamed everybody, and just try to pass it off as, like, an original thing, do you think that would be more, like, acceptable to people? You know, like, if they changed it just enough. Obviously, you can't use, like, for example, the Rhino, you'd have to change that into something else. But where's the line? You know, where's the line? You'd be like, well, he's not the Rhino from the Spider-Man comics. He's a were-rhino. You can't stop me from making a were-rhino. I can have a were anything I want. You know? And then for Kraven, you could say, like, well, you know what? He is half were-lion and half were-wolf. What about that? So he has, like, triple animal powers. That's only 2 animals. Well, whatever. You see what I'm saying? It's like, that's what I kind of mean when I say, like, this is ripe for fan fiction. Because since there's so little rules, I feel like you can almost do anything. Like, why was I watching this movie being reminded of, like, the Omegaverse? And being reminded of, like, what is that called? Shifters? Animal shifters or whatever. Like, these crazy fan fiction books, or maybe not even fan fictions, like, stuff that has original like, fully original characters and, like, not tied to any fandom, but just with these tropes, you know, that have been created and stuff like that. And, you know, those wacky-ass books that people just read live online, kind of like a Chuck Tingle book or whatever, where it's just like, wow, this is just so crazy, like, I can't believe these words are forming sentences that I'm, like, reading on the page right now, you know? I think that's why the movie made me so happy. It's not just watching a man run on all fours, which he didn't even do that much, but he did bite somebody in the face, and I liked that. But you know what I think is funny? I felt like, because who else was on all fours? It wasn't just Kraven. There was somebody else that was on all fours too. But I felt like when they were on all fours, they were too, the legs were spread out, like, too far in the back. And I'm like, I think that's because they don't want their ass to be too high. They want these man's asses to be lower than their shoulders. But I'm like, nah, man. Like, yeah, you want your stance to look good, because if your stance doesn't look good, then what's the fucking point? But because it's an action movie. And having a cool pose is like a fucking big percentage of what you're going for here. But, I don't know. I think I don't like these poses where it looks like they're gonna hurt their knees. I always think about people's knees. You know what? I don't know why. Like, I'm always thinking about stuff like that. Like, you need to be able to absorb impact, you know, when you're doing these things. Oh, but there was one part where Kraven was, like, following these two guys up the stairs, and they didn't notice him for, like, a long-ass time. Like, he followed them up multiple, like, sets of stairs, and that made me laugh, because that reminded me of, like, when I used to go to work, and everybody would walk down the same street to go to work, and sometimes I would walk up behind my coworkers, like, I would see them, and I would try to go up behind them, and, like, lockstep with them, and follow them as long as I could before they noticed, and it would only be, like, you know, you can only do that for, like, a minute or two, and then they kind of notice, like, is somebody creeping on me? But that's what that scene in the movie reminded me of. That was so fun. What else? What else can I say about this movie? I should have stopped it at 20 minutes. I thought I was only going to go slightly over 20, but maybe this will just be an extra long video. I don't know. Every time I am about to, like, press a stop, I think of, like, one more thing I want to say. I didn't like the part where, because Foreigner, my favorite one, I don't know why, this guy just, he entranced me. Like, he had this, like, poison darts, and I didn't like how when Kraven got hit with the dart and he was, like, seeing all the spiders, which I wish they made the spiders into daddy long legs. I mean, it's CGI anyways. Why are you making these big fat spiders? Like, no, do daddy long legs. That would have been so much creepier. That would have been so much fucking creepier. Ugh. Like, the amount of skin crawling they would have gave the audience, that would have been great. Maybe that would have made it too rated R. I don't know. But I didn't like how when he, like, pulled the dart out of himself, that his hallucinations just stopped like that. I'm like, no. No. You've already been drugged. Like, you've already been drugged. Like, you can't stop it now. You know? It doesn't matter if you pull the dart out or not at this point. It's done. Like, and it took him so long to get it, too. Ugh. So pathetic. So terrible. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, that whole scene kind of reminded me of The Boys. Where there's that, who's that guy from The Boys that has that, like, that power where his eyes get, like, really huge and, like, they turn to black holes and then he can put you in, like, a permanent, like, nightmare. That's a fucking superpower right there. That shit is horrifying. Can you imagine? And then I was also kind of reminded of The Boys because of, like, how Kraven leaves his little brother to be with his abusive-ass dad. And I'm just like, don't do that. Take your brother with you, okay? Don't fucking leave your brother to be, like, beaten up and raped by your dad. I mean, you know he's an asshole. And then when they're adults, he's all like, oh, why don't you stand up to your dad? Because you left him there alone to have to figure shit out, and he had to learn how to survive by sucking his own dad's dick and all this shit. So don't criticize how he has learned to survive, okay? But, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There was some scenes, like, there was a scene between the two brothers that I thought was good acting. When the little brother's like, I know you... When he's all drunk, and he's like, I know you feel bad about leaving me behind. I felt like that actually was good acting. And I like the part where, the kid version of Kraven, like, screams at his dad in a very cringy way. But then the way his dad responds is, like, I feel like very realistic, where it's like, he looks at his son like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I think he kind of, like, says that too. I don't remember what he says. I don't think he said like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But he says something like that, and then he pushes his son into the wall. But anyway, I just thought that was funny because that was, to me, that was an example of like bad acting, like juxtaposed with good acting, because the kid yelling was so cringy, and then he like immediately paid for it, you know, where it's like, yeah, I feel like that's how I react too, like, what the hell is wrong with you, bitch, you know? Okay, I guess oh my god, did you hear that? Did you hear that demon? I let these cats up here, and they're totally ungrateful. Here he comes. I can hear his heavy footsteps on the ground, like... I can hear your heavy footsteps. Yep. It was funny, because since me and my dad just watched Russell Crowe in The Exorcism, which was kind of a bad movie, I just imagine that, like, these two brothers have, like, a sister, and the sister is their sister from that movie. But yeah, you know what, I liked how there was kind of like a brotherly love aspect in this movie, because see, when it was when the movie Frozen came out, people were praising it like, oh yeah, it's usually always like romantic love between a princess and a prince, you know, what have you. But this one's actually about like sisterly love. Well, this movie, I mean, it's not cutting edge because it's a little late for that, but it's still nice that it's like about brotherly love, you know. I haven't seen enough of these other superhero movies to know how many of the other ones deal with like family relations versus like friends or romance or what have you, you know. I don't really know what all the different things are, but like, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was nice, you know. I always feel more for, like, if I'm watching a movie and it's like a family member is trying to save another family member, like, I always feel like that's more impactful. Because I don't give a fuck about romance. Like, unless these people have been married for a long time to where that basically is family, then I care, you know, but if it's just like, oh, I met that, like, there was a trailer for this movie called Novocaine, and, like, that was just, like, some girl that this dude thought was hot, and that he liked the fact that she was nice to him, and that she, like, rode on his dick or whatever, and that she was sexy towards him. He's like, I gotta save her, because I don't know if any other girl is ever gonna be sexy towards me again, or some bullshit. It's like, okay, then I don't really feel for you, because, what, you think this person's hot, so that's why you want to save him? Like, why should I care? But when his family is different, you know. Anyways, I'm sure I didn't say anything of substance in this video. I'm very tired, you know, but at least I got to make my little joke with the Foreigner song. You know what? And I was like, should I make it Head Games or Double Vision? But I went with Head Games. That's the first Foreigner song I ever learned. And you know what? The front cover of that album always creeped me out. Like, what's up with that picture? It's like some chick in the men's bathroom, and she looks like she's being, like, human trafficked. Like, is that what's supposed to be going on in that picture? Is it supposed to be creepy? You know? These are the questions we gotta ask. Okay, bye.